Welcome to another episode of the Insurance Tech Webinar. And today we get to have Janaya and Tyler here with us, who are new members of our team as part of that acquisition of We Build Staxx. So those of you who might not know, We Build Staxx is a company that was founded about 2 years ago, just about 2 years ago, by a dear friend of mine, Mandy Reed. She was an insurance agent turned techie. She actually was a client at Accelerated Automation, and with her agency down in Florida, really dove into the technology for her agency, and then ultimately founded We Build Staxx and helped hundreds of insurance agents all over the country with integrations, connections, and automation. We worked very closely together for a very long time, and we were able to just recently acquire them and bring her team over to Accelerated Automation. We worked so closely together, it felt like we were one company anyways. I mean, Tyler was there the longest. I know that felt like that to me. So I'm excited to have you guys here today. To kind of get started, we're going to jump in and get to know you guys a little bit more. So Tyler, I'm going to have you start. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, how you got into automation. Just let's start there.
Yeah, you got it. So I actually started my journey when I was super young and loved video games, of course, as most kids do. And it's actually kind of where I fell in love with tech, and like some of the games that I would play, you could actually code some of the things yourself in. And that's where I kind of fell in love with tech. And then when I got into high school, I actually started my own photography business. And so I got to dip my toes into some of the business aspects of life. And I also found a lot of interests there. And then after high school, I went to college for 2 years and I got my bachelor's in software engineering. And at the end of that time is actually when I connected up with Mandy. And actually through my photography business is how we met. And from there, we got to kind of build We Build Staxx together. And that's how I fell into this automation gig. And it's been really fun to problem solve and do all those fun tech things that I have come to love over the years. So.
And what's been kind of like your favorite thing about building these workflows for agencies?
I think it is that problem solving thing. I've always loved puzzles. I I love Rubik's cubes and all those sort of things. So I just find the problem solving aspect really satisfying and rewarding. And it's you can use it in any aspect of this. So it's what I do all day, every day, and it's super fun.
Awesome. I love it. And then we like to have lots of transparency and be really honest here at Accelerated Automation. So what is the thing that's maybe the most challenging or the thing you like the least?
I think for me, it's probably doing stuff like this, which is showing my face to others.
We even
But
talked to a conference. You did great.
exactly, yeah, throwing me into the conference scene, but it's always good. I like getting out of my comfort zone, even though it's out of the comfort zone. And it's always good to grow in those ways and find those struggles and kind of overcome them. So this is good practice for me. So thanks for throwing me into it.
Of course, if I'm good at anything at our company, it is like kicking anybody out of their comfort zone with like gusto. Amanda on our team, she very similar, of course, and does it, doesn't really want to be agent facing, and she just jokes. She's like, oh, I'm just waiting for you to push me out of another comfort zone that I have. So lots of personal growth here, Accelerated Automation.
For
And then
sure.
Janaya, we have Janaya here with us too. So excited to have you. Janaya was newer to the team at Staxx and came over to Accelerated Automation with us as well as part of both Tyler and Janaya are on our tech ops team. And excited to have you here. Janaya, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey, how you got here?
Yeah, absolutely. A little bit about me. I'm a mom of three, and I find joy in traveling and reading and just making the most of like moments with my family. So where I came from, I had 3.5 years of tech experience with Pax8, and then I had over 6 years of banking industry and financial services experience. And so I joined We Build Staxx in July, And I quickly discovered like a passion for automation and streamlining services, as well as agency workflows. I have since then gotten, I believe, 8 certificates with Zapier. Just loved learning more about it and, finding some cleaner, faster workflows to make things a little more reliable. So that's just a little bit about me and where I came from and started.
How did you like connect with Staxx originally? So how did you guys meet?
So it's honestly, it was a job application that was posted on Facebook through Emergent Campus here in Canyon City. And so I just saw that and I was like, oh, like that is something that I'm super interested in. And I just submitted my resume. And then upon meeting Mandy, it turns out that she knew my father-in-law as well. And so it was just like, we just had like that little connection there. And then shortly after our interview, she called me back and said, hey, let's get started, and so it was just a super awesome experience.
Canyon is such a small town, so it doesn't surprise me at all that you guys like knew each other's families. So
Yes, exactly.
earlier in the year, and it's so cute. I love it. It's a beautiful place, but yeah, small for sure.
Yes, it is.
So tell me about, I'm going to put you on the spot too, like I did Tyler. So
Okay.
what has been your favorite thing about the role that you have now?
Well, I really like taking the repetitive tasks that agencies have to do manually and convert it into a workflow that is automated so they don't have to constantly transfer information over from one system to 5 different systems, that kind of thing. And also like if they are searching down leads out of their emails and stuff, getting those into more automated and a better workflow for them.
Love it. I love it. And what about the worst thing? What do you not like?
Um, yeah, I don't know if I've like come across like something super crazy like that yet. I know that with certain agencies, they just have a lot of stuff misplaced and things that are just not getting handled as efficiently as they could. So I guess maybe that would be like a worst case scenario, like seeing those things happen in agencies.
I thought you were going to say collecting logins because we're in the middle of changing that system. I was like, this is like
Yes.
right now, that's a thing for us, right?
Hmm. Yes.
Okay, I love it. I love it. Well, so for those of you guys that are here live on the webinar, I just want to remind you, please open up the chat and feel free to put in any questions that you have, and we will be answering them as we go. We're going to transition into some demos. So the We Build Staxx team, Tyler and Janaya, there's actually another team member as well, Vlad, but he's off like getting married. So that's why he's not here today. And Tyler just got married last month. So there's like all of this love and matrimony in the air here at Accelerated Automation. But they predominantly did a lot of like integration work through Zapier. They can also do custom API work. And again, we were doing these things for customers, jointly in connecting CRMs, and we're doing work with AMS systems, websites, all sorts of things. So we're going to kind of jump into some demos, so give you guys some ideas of some of the things that are possible, but I want to encourage you to ask questions live as we go. And I'll kind of step in, you guys, on your demos a little bit and say, hold on, we have a question. If it's something we want to wait till the end, I'll do that as well. And then we'll have a really like robust, more engaged Q&A at the end of the webinar as well. So Janaya is going to kick us off kind of talking about more of a foundation type of Zapier, and she's going to kind of show us and walk us through this. Janaya, I'll let you take it from here.
Okay, yeah. So the one that I had in mind, oh, let me just see if I can share my screen here. Go. Okay. Let me know if you could see my screen.
Yeah, it's just taking a second to load.
Okay.
There we go. Perfect.
Okay. Yeah, so one that we see often is missed calls coming into the agencies or something of that sort, and to basically avoid running through missed call logs and that kind of thing, trying to track these down. A simple Zap that we have here that I um, created was just going and selecting a missed call, your missed call logs out of your Ring Central account. And ultimately what it does is it's going to post into like a Teams chat or a personal chat or whatever wherever you want it to go into Ring Central and alert you. A big thing with this is sorry, it's being kind of slow. Big thing with this is that it will minimize missed calls. It will alert you. It will um, give you a designated person or whatever your agency wants to do. You can have a designated person to go and find these and return those calls so that you're not searching and digging through your missed call logs. Um, so basically, it just kind of comes in, and then you can have some text here saying you have a missed call from, and then you can put in like a name, phone number, that kind of thing. And then ultimately it goes over into your Ring Central. Sorry, my system is being super slow. So it comes into your Ring Central and it'll look little something like you have a missed call from so and so. So that's basically how that looks.
So what she was showing you guys is the Ring Central messaging system inside of that. So if you don't have Ring Central and maybe you use Teams or Slack, Google Hangouts, or another type of messaging system, as long as it's on the Zapier platform, you can have that pushed in. I know we use this internally for groups because you might have virtual employees or team members who work remote. And with Ring Central, of course, you have different phone lines and stuff, and each vendor is a little different. But the idea being that everybody can see in one place that there was a missed call that needs to be returned, right? It's very easy to find that communication, and there's no guessing if something was returned or taken care of. We do have a question in the chat about this asking, saying we use Orbit switchboard. Is that compatible? And I would have to defer to you guys. I don't know. We don't really hear about that platform very often. Any idea?
I was gonna say I might be able to search it on the fly here, but at the moment I'm unsure. But I'll see if I can answer this on while we're going here. So.
Yeah, Angelique, great question too. And if we can't get you an answer, we can always follow up after the webinar and get you an answer. If you want to throw your email into the chat, we can do that. And this is a great example of kind of the need for a team like Accelerated Automation now with our integration department, but really because these questions, Angelique, like you're saying, hey, can we do this with this platform? Sometimes the answer is very simply yes, like they're on Zapier, very easy, we can integrate and connect. Other times the answer is, well, no, they're not on Zapier, but because we have, I didn't tell you guys this, we call Tyler, Vlad, and Janaya the wizards. So really Tyler is the wizard and Janaya and Vlad are like wizard apprentice or wizards in training, whatever you want to call them, right? Because they're kind of still developing those wizard skills. They haven't graduated, Hogwarts yet, I guess, if we want to make more wizard references. But they'll dive in and take a look through the APIs that might be available in some of these platforms. And even if it's not an easy thing to build in like the Zapier ecosystem, which is that low code, no code type of ecosystem, because they are developers, they can still potentially build an actual custom connection through the APIs. So a lot of these answers, can I do this with something? The answer is maybe. Let's find out what's available. Of course, we are subject to the restrictions with the software companies, right? We can't open up their API. We can't make them do things the platform doesn't do. But within the confines that they have available, we are able to build a lot of things. Right now, our own internal company, we were changing our backend systems, and we have one system for customers and projects and one for sales. And Tyler connected the two. They are just talking back and forth, not to mention our meeting recordings, which are going in as well into both platforms. And it literally, it feels like a wizard waved their magic wand and made the system work the way you want. We were celebrating it in our internal team chat yesterday, and there was a lot of wizard memes and GIFs and magic all over the place, because that's what it feels like when you get this stuff really, really tuned in. Do you guys have any questions of the people that are here live? Any questions for Janaya about these phone type of, options that you have available? And then we'll move on to Tyler's demo as well. Let's give everybody a minute here. Janaya, do you have any other favorite like Ring Central zaps that you've been building?
Well, there was another one that was super cool, is integrating like a meeting through your calendar and then posting a chat in Ring Central, which is really cool. So that you can get those alerts like, hey, you have a meeting coming at this time, that kind of thing. Or somebody scheduled a meeting in the future for this time, so that you can, have like a heads up that something's coming up.
So a different type of notification platform, maybe outside
Yeah.
of just your calendar, can actually have it send it to you.
Yeah.
Love that. We do have a question. Is there a call recording? Is there an option for call recordings? So is there a way to automatically save the transcript of each call into a central file or even into AgencyZoom customer files?
Yes.
Yep. You can absolutely save your Ring Central recordings. You can put it in like a Google Drive or anything of that sort. You can also, put it, I believe, Tyler, you did say yes, that they could go into AgencyZoom as well, right?
Right. Yep. As long as, or as well as those transcripts too. I see that he listed that as well. So yeah, transcripts. We can also do summaries. If you don't want that big long call, hour-long call that you may have had, you don't want the full transcript, we can also pull in the summaries as well as Ring Sense customers. If you guys are all familiar with this Ring Central platform, any of kind of those insights and things that RingSense does as well, we can pull in to AgencyZoom. We can connect it there in the lead files and kind of in their notes section, so that you have that quick look to be able to see what's happening. So yep, we can do all of that. Super cool. I was actually going to mention that, so I'm glad someone asked about it.
Yes, I love that. It's so convenient. You don't have to go searching into different platforms. You just stay right in your ecosystem. Very, very efficient. All right, Tyler, let's jump into your demo. So what are you going to be showing us today? Janaya, if you want to turn off your screen share. And then while we're making that transition, we have another question. Can Crisp, which does our call transcriptions, connect to the correct client in AgencyZoom?
This is another one we might have to look into, but I will say something I was going to mention on this call is a lot of times the sky's the limit, and it's kind of just a matter of figuring out that how. And so luckily we have and see so many different scenarios that we're able to kind of apply our knowledge to so many different systems and see a lot of those similarities, and then be able to apply that knowledge and solve that problem. So it's nice to kind of be in this land of experts and use that resource and say, hey, is this possible? And then we can kind of take on that know-how portion of it. Are you seeing my screen, Mariah?
I am. As far as it finding the right client, I mean, I can tell you that is an option as far as the APIs go. We'd have to look at Crisp and see what all the options are there, like Tyler mentioned. But the ability to find the right person definitely is something that we've done many, many times in the AgencyZoom CRM, of course. It's kind of our wheelhouse, but Tyler just did a bunch of stuff for me in Go High Level as well, and in Monday development and project management and CRM. So like you said, the sky's the limit. All right, Tyler, let's dive in. Keep asking questions, guys.
Yeah, that's great. And we'll actually kind of get to see that scenario here in my little bit more advanced demo of kind of finding a lead or a customer in your system. So whatever your CRM might be. So keep that in mind as we go through. This is not specific to this system, and it could be any CRM, it could be any cloud storage, anything like that. So my scenario here is something that I see often is people are wanting to make, agents are wanting to make a nice file structure where they can store info for their clients. So here I'm in Google Drive, but this could apply to any cloud storage, maybe use OneDrive in Microsoft or anything like that. And so I have a clients folder, and under it, I want to sort my personal and commercial clients. And under that, I want to clean up and automate this process. So you can see that there are many different ways that we could sort these, but something that's great about automation is it keeps a really consistent way of doing things. And so that really keeps you organized. So you can see maybe I was manually doing it here and naming John Smith or last name, first name. There's all different ways you could do this, but I want to automate it now and keep a super clean naming convention where I have their last name, first name, and I also have their ID from my CRM. And this way we can differentiate if there's two John Smiths or something like that. So something to think about when building these things is that down the line and making sure it's scalable and you're not going to run into any problems. So I'll quickly walk through the Zapier. You can see we can get super advanced and have all these different paths and things happening. But every time a lead is created in my CRM, it's going to go through. It's going to determine if it's a personal or commercial lead. And then it's going to actually search for their folder in Google Drive. And so the importance of this is so that we don't accidentally create any duplicates. Maybe John Smith, the same John Smith comes through our system a couple of times. Well, we want it to actually go to that same folder and not create a new one. So first, what we have to do is make sure it's there. And if we do find that folder right here, if we find the folder, we just want to update our lead. And actually what I'm doing here is it's going to come through and update my lead with their Google Drive folder. So now this is creating a direct way to find their folder. You don't have to go into Google Drive, search their name, figure out which one it is. Now it's just putting a link in here where we can directly click on it and it'll open up their drive and I can put in their files or whatever we need while I'm working with that customer. So then if we go down this other path here, it's doing the exact same thing, but instead, if we don't find their folder first, we want to create it. And then after that, I'll update my lead in AgencyZoom with that link. Again, trying to keep as much as we can in our system, our main system here, our CRM, so that we have less searching to do. So that's kind of the main point of this, is linking in and interconnecting all of our systems here so that we can find everything super easily. And that's kind of the whole flow there. And again, this will happen if you're a little unfamiliar with Zapier. It works in triggers and actions, which means that this is going, when we set it live, it's going to happen every time that this trigger is stating. So every time a lead is created in AgencyZoom, this thing is going to fire off and create that folder. And it's also going to link it back to their file, their lead card here in AgencyZoom. Again, just giving that quick reference. And so now the advantages here are, I of course don't have to come in, click around, create a folder, copy the link, put it in their AgencyZoom file. It all just happens automatically. I don't have to think about it. It's also taking out that user error, which is something people always forget. User error, maybe I put in their wrong ID here or something, or type their name wrong. It's going to make it hard to find later. If you connect other automations to this, it's also, that could potentially cause problems down the line. So it's giving you a lot more scalable solution to reduce those errors and save time as well. So
I love this app so much because AgencyZoom has so many great things about it. And then most platforms, most CRMs, AMS have great features. And then there's some things that it's not phenomenal at, right? I've never found a platform that's perfect at everything. File storage, not its forte, right? It's really just not built for that, from the naming convention and searching, no folders, as an option. So this is really that workaround. Use the storage system, like Tyler said, that you already have in place. So if it's OneDrive or Dropbox or Google Drive, whatever you're using, just don't use your computer. We still see this today where agents are saving things directly to their computer desktop files. Of course, if you lose your computer, you lose your files. So make sure you do have those in the cloud. But this is huge. And it's that reduction of clicks and consistency. Think about this. This is one less thing you have to train your staff to do. Hey, if you want, even if you were just doing this when customers are sold, hey, a customer sold, now we want a client file. They have to remember to go in and do that and complete the steps. We all have had busy days in our agency where the phone rings off the hook. There's a big storm. Something happened, a fire, something like that, or a bunch of people are out sick, and a bunch of the stuff that you were supposed to do that day falls behind, and now you're trying to catch back up on all those activities, and inevitably something gets missed. So the more of these processes that you can guarantee are happening consistently without relying on your team to remember, the easier their job becomes. We get a lot of questions about automating away the human experience. That is absolutely the exact opposite of our goal. It is to increase the human experience. Creating a folder and filing docs has nothing to do with your customer experience, right? It's a back-end process. It just has to happen, but it does not impact your customers. They don't see it. They don't know you're doing it. So why not automate that? We've got some questions in here. So I'm going to dive into these. And then once we kind of get through these questions, we're going to talk about some best practices and common mistakes when kind of conceptualizing and building automation that the Staxx team has come across. So first question is here from Elena. Is it possible to create a Zap with job forms to create a new lead when someone fills out a form from your website? Create a new lead and then send them a text and an email. Tyler?
Yes, this is our bread and butter, as we stated earlier. Forms, any kind of forms you can think of, and automatically creating that in your system. Again, I can see, I'll kind of double answer here. I see Ben asked, can you help with these things in other CRMs? Yes. So again, these are not specific to these systems, and the sky's the limit. So any kind of form that you could think of, we can usually connect and automatically create the lead in your system. So that is something we do all the time, yes. And then that send them a text and email portion, Mariah, maybe I'll let you handle that portion of it.
The answer is yes. So it technically in Zapier, you could fire that off through your phone and email system. Usually best suited to be in a workflow inside of a CRM. So when you get that initial capture, you would want to push it to your CRM and have the workflow there. That allows you to have usually a more simple tool to build within. And keep in mind that Zapier, it's a program that starts at $20 a month. And then you get so many of these actions, these triggers and actions. And so you wouldn't want to build things in Zapier that your native systems can do without limitations, because you're going to end up paying more money. So these are things we look at as well, right? Sure. Could we build it here? Right. We could, but is that the best thing for the business? Is it scalable? Is it going to cost you more in the long run? We're going to look at all of that stuff. So preferably that text and email through your CRM. The other, and like Tyler said, anything forms. We have built CRM out for Medicare when people fill out their scope of work. I'm sorry, I'm so used to saying that now. Their scope of appointment form and their permission to contact, right? So they have to have those to be able to interact. The agent has to have those with the client to interact. And when those submissions are done, we can even update leads, right? Notate that they have filled these out. You're now allowed to schedule, fire off a different workflow because they filled out your digital forms. So not only can it create those opportunities or customers, but it can also update them and move them through your sales process for you. James asked if this can work for EasyLinks and AgencyZoom. EasyLinks. Probably like, we should add that to the list of things that we wish we didn't have to do, right? Definitely can, but James, just know that EasyLinks is a little bit more rigid. They're a little bit more restrictive on what we can do. Tyler, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah. So this demonstration that I did here, we can do that for EasyLinks. It is a similar process as you see here in AgencyZoom. most of CRM or whatever system that you're kind of working with customers in has some sort of note function where you can put a note, and EasyLinks does have that as well. So this is a solution we could fit into EasyLinks. And this is AgencyZoom that you're seeing right now. So EasyLinks and AgencyZoom, this works for them. Same with job forms and connecting those to those two systems, maybe connecting AgencyZoom and EasyLinks themselves and making those talk. We also do that. That's something we see often. So that's a few options with those two systems. Yeah.
Yeah. And when it comes to AMS systems and CRMs that maybe aren't native or integrate together, like Tyler has mentioned so many times, if you've got an idea, if there's something driving you crazy that you just have to double enter, it's always worth the research project to take a look and see what can be connected in those ecosystems. For example, Hawksoft has a one-way integration into AgencyZoom, but Tyler, with his wizard power, was able to build a two-way integration so that the agencies using these platforms can actually have the ideal workflow without the double entry. So there's a lot of options. Yeah, Ben asked if we could do things in other CRMs. Yes, different systems. So accelerated automation has been predominantly historically AgencyZoom focused, but that scope has really widened up with our acquisition of WeBuildStaxx. What is a good contact to get a quote on creating these items? Yeah, so Elena, you want to reach out to me. So my email is mariah@acceleratedautomation.net. You can also go to our website, acceleratedautomation.net. And there is a link in there for scheduling meetings and Zapier information. Our website is under construction at the time of the recording of this video because of our acquisition of the Staxx team. So still a lot being added there, but you can just reach out to us on our site and we'll make sure we get you taken care of. All right, if you guys have any other questions or ideas as we're talking, please feel free to put those into the chat and we will address them. So I'm going to come back to you, Janaya. What would you say are some of the common mistakes that you have seen when you've reviewed integrations or Zapier connections that agents have built on their own?
So sometimes it's just not getting the full connection of everything, not filling out the find lead pieces or those kinds of things to search for existing. So it would be just creating brand new ones. That's a big one that I've seen a lot. Let's see. A lot of them maybe they get broken because either we have had ones that were created by us, but they were broken because the folder was deleted that it was connected to, that kind of thing. So understanding the connections of what's created and how it works, basically.
Gotta love those Zapier alerts emails, right? Error are huge. We see that a lot. And it is a lot to think about, right? That something as small as a name. So for example, if you are working in a CRM, which is what we do a lot, is you might have a stage that you have called quoted. Okay, so this is our quoted people. Maybe you change that to proposed, or you change it to quote instead of quoted. That can break an integration, some of those naming conventions, depending on how you're building it. So it is amazing how just a few little characters can cause a lot of havoc, and then you're trying to fix that. Tyler, what about you? What are some common mistakes that you see in some of these integrations and such?
Yeah, the like Janaya said, connecting connecting something and then forgetting about it later and maybe changing it, forgetting those things are connected. That is a huge one for sure. The other thing I would say is maybe mapping issues. So when we say mapping, that's connecting those individual fields to one another between systems. So email should go to email and the phone field should go to phone. It could be as simple as having it in the wrong spot. And so kind of knowing the two systems that you're connecting enough to see where things should go and where they should land and what those best practices are. Sometimes we have stuff that I see where it's oh, you're putting it in the notes, but maybe it should go in the files instead, or something like that. And kind of knowing those best practices can be a little bit tricky, but super helpful in the long run.
Yeah, when I started using Zapier, I remember one that I spent hours on an evening. I was trying to get birthdays from my form into AgencyZoom. But the month, day, year, like the formatting, the actual way the form created the birthday and the way that AgencyZoom needed the birthday, I just couldn't like make it fit. It was like square peg, round hole type of deal. And I had to try to use a formatter, to try to reformat it. But it was all of these things that seemed so simple to me. Birthday, just connect. But they both had totally different formats.
Right. Yep. And so luckily Zapier can handle all of that and fix some of those formatting issues. That's a good point. Yeah.
Some other things that you guys have done, even just for me before this acquisition, was, for example, like Janaya, you showed the Ring Central, chat connection. Well, that wasn't there. That wasn't on Zapier for a very, very long time. And I remember sitting in Colorado and we were with Tyler and I'm like, man, I wish some of these notifications could go into our Ring Central chat. He pulls up the API and he's like, oh, I can build that. And he builds a custom Zapier integration for Ring Central for the messenger. And then we were able to push everything into it. So sometimes you might even personally be searching on Zapier for some of these, triggers and actions and options with your software, and it may not be there. I was really impressed when you did that because I didn't know you could do that. You could build these like oh, they didn't provide it. It's fine. We'll just build it ourselves. That was, again, one of those wizard moments.
Yep.
All right, guys. What about best practices? So if an agent's watching this, replayer here today, and they want to start playing with Zapier and start building some connections, what are some best practices they should follow?
I'll start us off if you don't mind, Janaya. Something that I demonstrated there in my demo is naming conventions. It's such a huge thing. It's a little thing, but having those micro processes for your business are super important, and kind of those standard operating procedures, right? Even if you are doing something manually still, it's good to know how should we do this and what's like a consistent way to do it. And that'll save you lots of time in the future. Again, if you do implement these solutions, you're already set and ready and doing something in a consistent way that will fit your automation. So that's a big one, naming conventions and laying things out for yourself in a scalable way. Let's see, I think I wrote a note here.
Janaya, did you have any best practices that you've seen as well?
I would say maybe like mapping things properly. Like you mentioned before, it's like you got to understand the formats of different things. So like the date and time, if you want it to go into AgencyZoom or anything like that, you have to match what that format is in that platform. So you're going to have to get those to match properly with a filter step. So yeah, something of that sort is really huge when it's something so simple that you don't think about. Like you're like thinking the date should match the date or the birthday should match the birthday, but the format could be different if it's collected in year, month, day, or day, month, year. So
another good best practice while doing these things, and kind of how you find these things out, is just testing. So using test data or whatever, and sending these through your systems, setting the automation live and testing it again in the live version of it and seeing what happens. And then you kind of learn from those mistakes, right? You see the automation happen and you go and you kind of dig through it and you look through all the fields, and then at that point you can see, oh, this field isn't coming over even though I mapped it. And that kind of gives you some insight to go and look through everything and comb through everything with and see what's wrong, right? And from that point, it helps you learn, of course, and kind of find those things, and it helps you learn your system a little better. And so it's just a good best practice to always test things multiple times, different data, and kind of see what's happening and find those different errors and things that you need to fix.
What are some things that, so we talked about, better ways to build things together, conceptualize them, but let's say you build it all correctly and it shouldn't break. We talked about, actually making changes. But if you made no changes and you didn't touch your Zaps or your automation, what are some things that are out of your control that could turn them off or break them?
Customer error. So a lot of the ones that I've seen is if you don't have like a required field for like the name or email or phone number, some of those are required in your CRM system. And so if that's not filled out, it's gonna stop because it can't create. So that's a big one that I see a lot. Like I've seen even just the name itself. So if it doesn't even have like last name. So if you filled out your first name and then the last name is missing, it would have those issues. I've seen that.
Yeah. So some of those can be successful runs that happen, and then a customer forgets to fill out part of the form and it errors. Yeah, that's a good one. And kind of uh, looking and solving from forwards to backwards is how I put it. You start in the system. So for instance, your jot form, and you make sure those fields are required, and you solve it there first before you solve it with the automation. Is another good practice. Something also, another error that we see out of users' control. Of course, if the system is down, sometimes the system's just down and you miss some things. And luckily, Zapier has a way for you to kind of see all of that stuff happening so you don't miss anything that you might be normally forgetting about because it's now automated. You still have a way to look back and see those things. And then another one is maybe you change a password to one of your systems. A lot of these, you have to authenticate your system to be able to connect it. And so maybe you change your username and password. And sometimes that can disconnect your system. And so you have to go back in there and reconnect it. And luckily, Zapier makes it in a way that if you have 100 Zaps for AgencyZoom and you happen to disconnect your account in some way, you just have to connect it once and it'll go across all of those Zaps. So again, super scalable solutions that you're not having to rebuild and take up too much of your time.
So if we didn't have a tool like Zapier, I know there's also Make and some other platforms that are low code, no code platforms. But Tyler, if we didn't have those today, if we didn't have these solutions, then how would solutions be connected, or like what's been done historically? Because obviously these are fairly new platforms still.
Yeah, it gets a lot more custom, as we call it. You're having to hire developers or teams of developers to be able to connect these systems through code and boot up your own service where you're having to then run constantly these things that look for all of these things between your systems. So you have your own server. Now you have all this overhead to manage it and be able to connect these systems to it. So it becomes a much, much bigger time and cost solution for sure. So these systems are really cool to be able to, they're managing so much of it for you that you're not really having to worry about those things, and you can just worry about your workflow itself rather than just making it all work. So
yeah, that's what I've experienced as well, like in looking at custom solutions. And there's people out there that advertise like building full custom solutions, but remember there's hosting and security and ongoing maintenance, and all of these things can still happen. The other one that I've seen happen that we didn't mention here yet is the API is actually changing. So we're dealing with this with EasyLinks right now. They changed some formatting, which is causing some issues in some systems downstream. But so you could do everything right. You could build all your systems properly, the right, best practices, and you're sitting there working throughout your day, and all of a sudden your email's full of errors because a company you use made a change to their own coding, and now it's caused a downstream issue. So this is where we find a ton of value in the Staxx team, and why we always work so closely with you guys, because our clients, our business owners, they need to be focusing on their business. And when something breaks, they to be able to pull that time away, it's pulling you away from other more important things in your business. So you might not need a team of developers like you needed before these tools are available, but having somebody that can go in and quickly troubleshoot that and knows what they're looking for is still very valuable. And even though initially I wasn't like a client of Staxx, I became one. I remember telling Mandy, I don't care what I have to pay. I just don't want to deal with this anymore. So how can I just send it to Tyler? And that's what ended up happening in the last year, as anything would go wrong. I didn't even get my alerts. Tyler just got them and went in and fixed it. So thank you for doing that and doing that still for us now. Ben is asking, he said he has his phone coming into a CRM and the CRM records the calls. Can you make a connection so that okay, the texts get put into our AMS to lock in that date in the event of an E&O claim? So can we push the text messages into the AMS? Which AMS you're using, Ben? That might be a good question. And the voicemail. Which AMS platform is it? Hawksoft. Is that an option in Hawksoft, Tyler, that you know of?
It's funny, I have it pulled up here. I think there's definitely some options for logging notes in Hawksoft. So pushing into Hawksoft again it's a little bit limited at the moment. They're working towards opening that up some more. But I think definitely some log notes I see here in the API, we can create those in there. So I'm sure there's some sort of documentation that we can put those texts and voicemails and things that you're wanting into Hawksoft. So
awesome. All right. So we have gone through quite a bit. Thank you guys for everything. I do want to leave this open for any other questions you guys have burning on your brain. So for those of you that are here live, go ahead and open up that chat. Just type in any question that you have, and we will do our very best to answer that. Let's see here. I was just kind of checking my notes. Is there anything else that we wanted to see? Oh, I know. Actually, I'm going to ask this question. You guys can answer. So when agents are looking at their technology stack and they are picking what they should be, utilizing, what are some best practices? What would you recommend to make their technology easier to use? What should they look for?
Something quick and easy you can do, again, if you're looking to go down this automation route and clear up a lot of those redundant tasks, is you can just search on Zapier, or you can even search into Google this system and then Zapier and see if it's on there. And they'll actually have a big list of what you can connect together with some examples and ideas of things you can connect. So integration wise, that's what you can always do, is just look at the two systems, see if they have each other listed as an integration or something like that. So that's a good first step.
Yeah, I would definitely also recommend looking for just their ability to integrate. So there's some ecosystems that are more open than others. Tyler mentioned Hawksoft is going to be opening up a little bit more. Some software companies have more open endpoints in their API, and they're more willing to integrate with outside tools, and others are more closed off. So be asking those questions as you choose technology. The other thing to keep in mind is that we live in the world of AI. So you mentioned to ask Google, Tyler, like about this stuff. I mean, I asked ChatGPT like almost everything. We also use Gemini and Grok, and we use Claude and all these other platforms. But there's a lot of information there through AI. But not only can you use AI to get ideas, ask questions, keep in mind, you guys, that AI in general is going to be eventually overlaid into pretty much every piece of technology you use. It's the biggest advancement since the internet, basically. And when you think about having data, like Tyler and Janaya mentioned earlier, the naming conventions, the consistency, which we don't really get out of human behavior, right? Maybe one person wants to call him John Smith and someone wants to say Smith, John, and that messes up a little bit. That consistency that you can get through automation is huge. And when you have a really good, clean data set that the AI can lay over the top of, now the sky's the limit as your solutions implement and layer in AI for you to be able to access information, interact with the information in a much cleaner, more efficient way. Tyler or Janaya, do you have anything to add on that AI front that people should be keeping their eye on?
I'll sound like a broken record here, but the sky's the limit. Of course, you can use it for whatever redundant thing you want, or time saver thing. You can use, trying to think of an example here on the fly, but Obviously, a big AI piece that we kind of mentioned earlier is summarizing some of your calls and things. So Ring Central has their own AI within it, of course, but you can kind of, that's something we're seeing across the board, is summarizing those calls so that, again, you have a quick documentation and say, oh, what happened on this call? I can't remember. You can see it in your system, but now you also have a summary where you have this quick look to go, oh, this is the call I'm looking for. Let me go back and listen to it, or whatever you're trying to find, is super helpful. So that's something huge in AI that I think is probably the most used across agencies at the moment, is that summary from calls where it's just so much information. You might have a super long call, super long transcript. Now you can just see it in an instant and search through it super quick. So that's a super good solution to implement.
Yeah, I love that. And when it comes to recording calls, and like we talk about, building some foundations for your AI model, a lot of these call recording platforms, you guys, it doesn't have to be a phone call or a Zoom meeting. So for example, we use Avoma. We have used, the Staxx team used Fireflies. We've used Fathom. Zoom itself has recording features. There's a lot of options for this. And I'm saying this because for insurance agents, you may talk to people on the phone. You may get on a Zoom call for those of you that might have like remote people or clients in different areas, or you might meet in person. But these tools also have the ability to record meetings in person as well. In my Avoma, I have my Avoma app on my cell phone. My assistant and I sit in the same room. Everybody else, we're all remote. But when we have a meeting, we turn on our Avoma recording and it still transcribes it just like if we were on a phone call or on a Zoom meeting. And then I can take that summary. What were the action items? What were the things that we needed to do, or questions we had that we couldn't answer? And you can grab that notes and summaries, pop them into your CRM, your AMS, a notepad, a follow-up task list, a calendar, whatever that looks like for you. And you don't have to miss anything, right? And we're just living in a world that everything moves so fast. We're covering so many topics. And as business owners, we have a million plates up in the air that we're constantly twirling. The ability to record these notes through AI really allows you to be a lot more efficient and make sure you don't miss anything. So I know that's something I use here all the time. I want it to be an AI, and my team actually all knows as well that if you have a question about something that happened in a meeting and it's not specifically on like a note agenda, our first go-to is we go ask Avoma. We go check our AI note taker before we ever ask anybody else what's going on or what we missed. And then if we can't find it, we go ask. But that efficiency level is huge because we can operate without interrupting other team members. So again, like Tyler said, the sky's the limit. There's so many cool tools out there. Nicole asked, can we use this to automatically send follow-up emails to our clients or follow-up texts?
Yes, you can do both of those things. Again, we kind of try and start front to back. So if your CRM or whatever does those things, sends emails and texts, a lot of times we try and start there just because it's a lot more direct of a way to interact with your clients, since it is your customer relation management system. So starting there, but Zapier does do that. So if you're in a system where emails and texts aren't native to that system, it's a great way to connect those up. Something that I've done for someone before who had a really automated, needed an automated process for just a simple contact. People contact their service email or something like that, and they just need an automated response, a super nice one to come back to them about their problem so that they know they're on that service problem. We actually connected up to their email that had an AI response, so that it could be a little bit more custom to their problem. So they contacted this service inbox and said, hey, I need a renewal for this thing or whatever. And so now the AI can automatically respond with a little bit more custom ability and say, hey, we're on your problem. We're working on it. We see that you need this, this, and this. And we'll be back to you soon. So that's one of those automated emails we can do. And of course, we can do that for texts or whatever system you're working with.
So, and then I want to add another piece in this, which is kind of cool, you guys. So there's, of course, perceptions and a lot of feelings around automation and AI and whatnot. And if somebody emails you and within, 5 seconds, they're getting an email back with a full response, kind of obvious, probably a person didn't type that out. So if you have an agency where you're a little worried about that type of client, expectation or interaction that they can tell it's automated, you also can do delays, right? So we could have it, the email comes in and it waits 2 minutes and then it fires off that email. So it really feels more like somebody read it and responded. So lots and lots of ways to make sure that your customers are feeling comfortable with the communication that they're getting. So much you can do so much with AI inside of these automation workflows in Zapier. I know the Staxx team even had built some chatbots inside of different widgets and social media platforms for agencies so that the AI could interact, but after it has, of course, a little bit of training. So lots and lots of things you could do. So I'm going to ask you guys both. I didn't put this on the agenda, so I'm going to put you on the spot. Sorry. What has been like your favorite or maybe most challenging connection that you had to build or work on so far? And while they're thinking about that, I'll give them a second to think. If you guys have any questions, reach out to us at acceleratedautomation.net. Also, if you have a technology and insurance technology that you would like us to do a webinar on, please do reach out and give us those recommendations. We're here to bring you guys the information you're looking for. And there are a ton of insurtech companies out there that are making it so much easier for you to run your organizations, add efficiency, allow your team to be freed up to have more conversations about coverage, cross-selling, referrals, and growing your client book versus doing all of these, back-end administrative pieces. All right, are you guys ready? Maybe. Who wants to go first?
I guess I can go first. So I had one where it just took me a bit to figure out just because I'm still learning all the systems and stuff. But so it was connecting Gravity Forms to AgencyZoom, and we wanted a pre-filled link to the quick quote form. So that was just a little different for me to figure out. It was just a little bit more coding on our side. But it was just cool that we could figure out that if a customer filled out the link and it was just the quick quote form, so it just collects name, phone number, email, just like the basics, we can get that form to populate. So when the agency gets that, they call the customer and they have that already pre-filled. So they have like a link to that form. They click on it. When they're calling the customer, it pre-fills their name, phone number, so they don't have to worry about that. And then they just fill out the rest of the quote. So that was something really cool, interesting that I hadn't seen before. And it was just kind of fun to work through. It was totally new to me. So it did take me a bit to figure out, but that was super cool.
I love this. So it's very easy for someone to fill out just their contact information, and then the agency can pick up that without having to re-enter all the contact information again.
Yeah, exactly. So then they just pick up and say, oh, do you want auto, home, that kind of thing. And it just goes straight through that rest of that form.
That's awesome. I know you guys did one like that with JotForm, but so this is the beauty of this, right? These wizards are always building things, and I don't even always know what it is. And we'll have a team meeting and they're saying, hey, we built this thing for this client. I'm like, I didn't even know that was possible. Great idea. Tyler, what about you?
A lot of my hardest things come from the custom side and that problem solving there. So a lot of times we will dig through a system and look into their API because it's not on Zapier, right? And then usually what will happen is as I'm learning about this system or whatever it is in this documentation, we'll find some missing stuff, right? Maybe we want to connect up their notes and create notes automatically in the system, and I'm just not finding it. So a lot of times there's holes and things that we have to figure out. And a lot of times that's where I'm racking my brain and trying to find all of these different solutions and back ways of doing things. So that's usually my hardest projects is this isn't available anywhere. How can we still do it? Because we just really need it. And so again, there's always a way, and we're always kind of finding new ways to connect these systems. So that's always where I'm having my hardest moments, but we're always finding those ways and learning new stuff. Like Janaya said, the pre-fill options, that's kind of been a super huge one we've been seeing and super cool. So even though we're technically not automating something in that pre-fill process, like the pre-fill link itself anyway, that is something that we figured out natively that we can kind of do. So there's always these options and sort of secret ways you can find between things to still do stuff. So
yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've been plucking through my systems or software, or looking at a new system or software. You know, we sign up for so many demos. I spend tens of thousands of dollars on technology every year that we demo and try out and pilot. And you think that, oh, it just can't do this. We'll pitch it over to Tyler a couple days later. He's like, oh yeah, we can do that. No worries. I used to also think, before I got into technology, so I'm going back into my like just insurance agent life, I never used to understand why these systems didn't just all connect. Like, I didn't understand code, I didn't understand technology. So for those of you in the room listening to this who you're like, well, why don't they just do that on their own, right? Why can't they just do it? It still takes a team of developers to build this stuff out, and it doesn't happen quickly. So we've just recently contracted with a dev shop to build some software on behalf of the clients that we work with, because there's these big holes in some of the systems. And, you know, even just this small project we're working on 3-4 months out, right? So if you think about these technology companies who have all these ideas, now all of these additional ideas with AI that people are asking for, their roadmaps of updates and improvements and projects are 12 months out, 36 months out, 48 months out. They are very, very far out. So that's why the ability to connect, because one day there might be a Zap that you had built that's no longer needed. That's very possible, because they may finally get to that item and build the native integration. But in the meantime, you're doing all of this work manually. And that is always our goal. We always look for native options before we ever build anything or recommend building anything custom. Thank you guys so much for being here. We're so excited to have you on the team. We'll have to do another catch up in a few months and try to make sure we get Vlad on that one. So we have the whole Staxx team, who's now the accelerated automation and integration team, and the wizards, as I've called you so many times. Appreciate you guys. Thank you all for being here. The recording of this webinar will be up on our YouTube page in about a week. Thanks, guys.